Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys Own Business is produced by Turnkey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, Nice Guy community. Today, we're talking with scaling with precision, not just guesswork. Well, HubSpot founding chief revenue officer, best-selling author, podcast host, and YouTube creator, Mark Roberge. He joins us for a breakdown of how data, is it data or data? I never know. What is it, Mark?
Tomato, tomato.
Oh, okay.
I say data, I guess, but I think it's one of those things.
I'm East Coast, so I said data, although I live in the West Coast now and they say data. So I'm going to
data. Probably out in Europe, in the UK, it's data.
Well, either way, I'm totally fucked with the word. So he talks about data, inbound strategy, smart hiring, turning sales into a predictable science, and how founders can scale at the right time, at the right speed without blowing it up. Best-selling author, podcast host, and true nice guy. Welcome, Mark, to the podcast.
Jeez, Doug, thank you so much. Nice guys do finish first sometimes.
Well, if they don't finish first, then we don't know where the fuck the finish line is. Because I'll tell you, my feeling is, I know oftentimes, just your photo alone kind of exudes like you're a friendly, approachable kind of guy, rather than that arms crossed, standoffish kind of CEO or
This is
founder.
pretty dressed up for me in a t-shirt and vest. And actually, I grew my hair out like 10 years ago, and they're like, this is kind of a COVID thing, right? Everyone did that.
Right. Well,
And people are like, yeah, what is it? I'm like, oh, it's so much better. Like, people treat you like you just don't care.
well, it's that they feel like you're not so buttoned up that you can't be
exactly.
spoken to.
Right. Exactly. Like you see all the suits go on. Hey, sir, how are you? Good, sir. On the flight, like, hey, thank you, sir. Welcome to. I'm like, hey, how's it going, man? Can I get you a cocktail before we take off?
Yeah, you get all the A-class treatment. I love that. So before we get into like some of the content and go through this, I want to talk about a little bit of your past, because when I started thinking about, well, you number 4 hire, is that what you were at HubSpot or something crazy?
Yeah.
Something earlier.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Oh man, there's quite a story in there. I'll give you the quick breeze over and then dwarfing into like where we are with the book and everything, because it all kind of comes together. I mean, to be honest, reflecting on the last 15 years, Doug, like I guess I'm almost become a little Buddhist, because everything that reads well on my resume was not even intended. It's crazy. I mean, I was an engineer undergrad, wrote code, and discovered the art of entrepreneurship at the age of 23 and never looked back. And actually went to business school at MIT to kind of solidify my spot in that ecosystem, where I started a bunch of businesses and sat next to Dharmesh Shah, the co-founder of HubSpot, who hired me as like an early consultant when there was no employees.
Right.
And then proceeded to introduce me to Brian Halligan, his co-founder, who's an amazing sales leader, who proceeded to say, if we have you for 1 day a week as a consultant, you should sell. So that was my venue into sales. And then he just convinced me, when my startup was washing up, to come in as the 4th employee and build out the sales org. And to be honest, Doug, I had 2 little babies. I had a mortgage with no money down. I was just looking to collect a salary for 4 months. And 9 years later, we're ringing the bell on the New York Stock Exchange. So that was kind of book number 1, was this engineer geek turned sales leader that built one of the first data-driven sales orgs in the cloud era. And I think a reason why my work has resonated with the founders, especially tech founders. And then just to finish the gap, I mean, that was the last time I full-time operated. I then proceeded to join the faculty at Harvard Business School to build out their sales curriculum and teach it, which I still do. I'm here today. I'm not here that often, but I'm here today. And then, stayed very active in the ecosystem as an angel investor advisor, turned now venture capitalist. We're 7 years in with 4 funds on State 2 Capital. And just over the last 10 years, have worked with thousands of founders.
Wow.
And the failure rate is just way higher than it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And my top conclusion after looking all of it is people are just not, boards, founders, exec teams are not scaling at the right time. They're scaling at the wrong pace, the wrong time, and there needs to be a deeper, more rigorous framework around that. I spoke about it 7 years ago at SaaStr for the first time and kept getting asked to talk about it. And then Stanford was finally like, can you write this up? And here we are.
So sales is a four-letter word in many organizations. They don't want to think about it. They don't want to talk about it. They just want it to happen. And me as a sales hammer, and we've talked about this all the time. We talked about this before I hit record, and I talk about this all the time, is that
Yeah.
everything looks like a sales nail to me because I'm a fucking hammer as it relates, not hammer in a good way, but it's like everything is sales related. Nothing happens until you sell something. How much of a contributor is that, or a detriment is that to organizations that don't focus enough time, energy, effort on founder selling?
Oh, it's so critical. And that was the breakthrough for the sales curriculum here at Harvard, is retitling 6 or 7 years ago the class Founder Selling. I had the mistake of coming in here 10 years ago trying to convince more kids to carry a quota. And some of them do. But like there's a ton of folks here who used to write code at Google or Microsoft or wherever, or just come from manufacturing or finance or whatever and want to start something. And they're just so afraid of sales. And so like that's how we've titled 101 here, is Founder Selling. And we go through, 10 weeks of prospecting, discovery, tailoring demos, managing decision-making units, selling. We teach them Sandler in the first class. Your dad would be so proud, Doug.
That's so good.
Literally in the Harvard hallways, and we teach them Challenger, and we teach them Medic and Bant and all these things. They're like, and they walk out being like, I thought this was like a total art, and I feel like I'm learning economics and finance and strategy.
Right. Doesn't it feel like selling? Not to harp on selling too much, because I know we got a lot to talk about in the short time that we have together. But my dad used to call what he used to say, selling is a Broadway show put on by a psychologist. It's like
yes.
it's so interesting that there's got to be so much psychology in selling, and oftentimes the engineers, the tech gurus, the founders, the guys that have a lot of money behind them, they just want a puke product, and not in a bad way. They're very proud of what they hope to accomplish with their startup. But they have to massage the message so that it fits into the ears of those that are receiving the message, whether it's an investor or a potential enterprise client.
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Love to hear your
That's
comments
kind
on
of
that.
like the big, huge. And I think your dad was one of the first advocates of this, in addition to people like Neil Rackham at Spin Selling and other great researchers and practitioners. When we first started the class, you're exactly right. I mean, founding, like technical founders especially, when they have something like, okay, we actually have to get people to like pay for this. They're like, okay, let's build a sales process. Their perception is a slide deck.
Yeah.
It's literally a 20 slide deck of like, this is the problem we're solving. This is the product we built. These are the features and benefits.
Right.
This is the potential ROI. And the first cohort of students we brought in thought that's what it was.
And my dad would say, I hope the laptop is broken and it stayed in the car.
Oh my gosh. Right. And that's a profound moment for them to realize it. And fortunately, not only do we have great work by your dad and others, but now we have things like Gone.io and like AI transcriptions that have proven statistically across hundreds of thousands of calls, in a stat that we put up on the first class, that the top sellers in the industry speak 46% of the time on the first call, and the worst sellers in the industry speak 76%. And the students are like, oh my gosh, I'm the worst seller. And they're like, what is going on? And we teach them discovery, and we teach them all this stuff. And your therapy analogy has multiple meta dimensions to it, because not only is it like a description of what's happening, but like, I feel like a therapist as an occupation is such a wonderful, archetype for great selling. Like I always joke with my students, I mean, who goes to therapy? I go to therapy. I love therapy. And what do? You show up to a therapist super sad, and you walk out exhilarated and psyched. And all they did was ask you 9 questions.
And you talk the most of the
and
time.
you're totally reframed, and they're like, that's what it is. Not only is it the behavioral science that's driving this, but it's also such a great prototype for how to run this stuff.
When you have tools like AI at your disposal, as we have in the last year, and then even more so in the last few months, it's really, really taking over. It's taking over marketing, it's taking over messaging, it's taking over even the sales process, and helps you keep everything on track. Where you're basically just filling in the blanks. Do are organizations, and especially founders today that are just getting started now in startup world, are they relying too much on AI as it relates to just trying to get their message out and their growth and their sales curve, or are they relying upon it just the right amount, or do we need to lean on it even
Way
more?
too little, Doug. It's a great question. Way too little. And it's like too much in the sense that they're not going back to first principles. They're just trying to oftentimes scaling bad habits. So in that degree, too much. But we just haven't had really a great sales breakthrough yet. I think last year we had a breakthrough in R&D and specifically coding, because like the people who are building this stuff are using it. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of like this starting flywheel. I think this year we'll have a big breakthrough in sales. I think the first iteration would be driving up selling time as defined by what is the percentage of a week that your seller is in front of a buyer, which in the best orgs these days is 25 to 30%.
Yeah.
And AI can, get that to 75%. And if you just look at that shift from a control group, scientific method perspective, keep all else the same, product, sales cycles, ACVs, close rates. If you shift the seller from 25 to 75%, their productivity goes up 3x. So that will be profound. Right. And then we can get into some of the fun stuff after that. But like right now, as an entrepreneur and investor, and I put my founder hat on, we are in a massive tech shift. And these are moments of innovators' dilemmas. These are moments of turnovers from the incumbents to startups. And founders need to be very aware of what the innovators' dilemmas are. What can they do 10 times faster than the startups to get to the incumbents to get to the right answer? And a strong conviction hypothesis I have is not really in what they build or how they price it or anything like that, but how they run their org in a native AI way. Like once we have that 10x breakthrough in how a salesperson sells, it's going to be a lot easier for a startup built from the ground up to exploit those advantages than for Workday, as an example, to retrain their 2,000 sellers how to do this. So yeah, they need to be doing it more. And I think this year we'll have a big breakthrough in sales.
When did you know that you wanted to go from being a founder to somebody that's an investor? And what was the motivation behind it? I mean, certainly we could all look at it as just peons down here and say, fuck, it was because of the money. I mean, it's, you're now 1,000x, but I don't think, I was going to say, but I don't think that was your prime, it could have been on your radar, but I don't think that was your primary agenda.
Yeah, again, I kind of started here. It's like I was just called to do it. I think when I had a chance to take a breath after leaving HubSpot on the IPO and got to my office here and just like it was quiet and I shut everything down, I was like, holy cow. Everything that is perceived as successful on my resume, from going to HubSpot, building the sales team, writing the book about it, now joining the faculty at Harvard, I didn't pursue any of that. That stuff just landed on my lap.
Yeah, law of attraction says fuck that. That's not right. You
were in the ecosystem for sure.
Yeah.
And I say like, yeah, I'm not going to be all this like sitting in a cave, like whatever thing. But I'm just saying like, I spend all my time now reflecting on the unique gifts that I've been given and listen to callings on where I can deploy those unique gifts to add unique value.
Okay.
And that's what led me to VC is like, I had this period of 5 years where I was doing a bunch of stuff, everything from being a senior advisor at BCG to teaching here, to doing angel investing, to doing consulting for mid-market companies, whatever, PE stuff, everything. Mm-hmm. And then a young gentleman at Bessemer, Jay Poe, my co-founder, was like, we should start the first VC fund run and backed by sales leaders. I'm like, holy cow.
There you go.
Like, I'm looking at this like, I built my resume to do this without ever a hypothesis that I would become a VC. But this is like a vision that's perfectly aligned with my first principles of creating value for the startup ecosystem.
Well,
That's what led to it.
behind every gifted person, there is probably someone standing next to them or maybe behind them saying, "Hey, you should think about doing this for a living." And
Yes.
it's like,
Right. Exactly.
if he wasn't there, what's his name? What's your co-founder's name?
JPO. JPO. Yeah.
If JPO wasn't there, what do you think that you'd be doing right now?
I don't know. And thank God he was, because it was like it's really created synergy on this moment for me. I probably would have been continuing to just advise folks and buddy up to other VCs, but in that world, you have a lot less control around the startups and founders you work with. You're kind of at the mercy of what they want you to work on. So this is more rewarding. And I don't know, like, and I have a small hypothesis. I have no idea what's down the road, but I do think that like in a very medium term, let's say 10 years, I do think right now at this moment, there's 10x energy, time, talent going into building AI, and a lot less that should be going into understand the implications. And I do feel like I'll probably be called in that arena at some point.
Well, that would be cool. That's a higher level, even a higher level position, or it's a more of
I don't know.
a strategic position.
I don't know. It wouldn't be like a political. I'm not up
right,
for
right.
politics. That's
I got
not
you.
me. I don't know what it is.
Most startups, unfortunately, never see the light of funding, or
I know.
oftentimes don't see the light of day. What
Yes.
what are you doing differently that will kind of help reshape that, or do you just have to work within the law of averages that look 90+% of these startups are going to fail? It's horrible to think that you make good friends and you have a lot of good people
Yeah.
in that world, and you are sorry when they don't succeed. But isn't that just the reality? And what can you do to change that?
A lot, but it won't get to that. I mean, 95% of like even pre-seed funded businesses fail, and it doesn't get that much better. Once you get to Series A and B, it can get it's still at like 80%. It's just a risky game. I do think that's way higher than it should be because of a lack of rigorous strategic frameworks around it, which is what this book is set out to do. Gosh, to untap this in 3 minutes is tough, but I'll give you a taste of like,
Yeah.
so many people just come out of the gate with revenue as their North Star. It's completely wrong. You need to come out of the gate with customer value creation.
Oh, thank you.
And a lot of people say, oh, product market fit. I need to get product market fit. I lost product market fit. I'm trying to refine product market fit. We're pivoting toward product market fit. But like, what is product market fit, Doug? No one has it's like a 10-page Wikipedia page. And sometimes like it's a feeling. And so many people define it around revenue, customer count. That's market message fit. You and I could sell ice to Eskimos. It doesn't mean ice has product market fit with Eskimos. So in the book, I talk a lot about it being customer value creation and how you can quantify it using a leading indicator of retention. And that needs to be your opening North Star. And once you achieve that, you'll love the go-to-market fit phase, because that's when you learn how to go out and acquire customers profitably within that ideal customer profile that you've defined. And then you move to the scale stage, which 90% of founders raise money and hire 20 reps the next month, which we both know is dangerous. And it's all about establishing a stay or go or slow pacing. So that's the quick little teaser to like wet your mouth about it, and hopefully decrease those failure rates from 95 to something in the 60s or 70s, and maybe for you, a lot lower.
Let's talk to our folks that are in our audience that are early stage entrepreneurs, founders,
Yeah.
somewhere in there, and
Yeah.
give them a little, just an outline of what the book is about so that they understand where they can fit. Because I can tell you, at least from my perspective, some of what you said, I was like Charlie Brown's teacher, want, 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 want. So I didn't quite,
Yes.
I don't, you live it
Okay,
every
let's
day,
do it.
and I
Let's
don't
break
live
it
it
down.
quite. Okay, go ahead.
Let's break it down.
Okay.
You're sitting here, you've built something, a minimum viable product, and you start going to have some conversations with customers. When are we ready to scale? That's the first question. And that's just not well answered. You need product market fit first, which qualitatively is that you can consistently create value for your customers that you promised. And the best quantified metric of that, like in software, is customer retention. They bought your product and they keep using it. They rebought it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that time. When I sign up 10 customers this month, I don't know their retention for sometimes a year.
Right.
So you have to define your leading indicator of retention, i.e., what is an event, action, or moment that you observe in the first month that if it happens, they'll be with you forever. And if it doesn't, they'll likely churn. Slack's was sending 2,000 team messages a month. HubSpot's was using 3 or more features in the platform. That's your North Star. And the book talks about how to define it for your business. So you focus there first, significantly increasing your likelihood of success. Once you've done that, you're not ready to scale because all you've shown is that you can acquire 10 customers and almost all of them will see the value you promise, but you don't know how to acquire those customers profitably.
Right.
The stuff that you and I do, Doug. So that's when you have to work on go-to-market fit, which is like, what salesperson do I hire? What's their quota? What's their commission? How do I pay them? What's the demand gen strategy? What's the sales methodology you're going to use? Sandler or Challenger? And we build all that stuff out, hopefully in a short period of time, so you have go-to-market fit. And now you're ready to scale. You have product market fit and go-to-market fit. You have high degree of confidence. Not only will you acquire customers that will be successful on your product, you'll acquire them profitably. And that's done in order because you don't want to optimize your go-to-market fit on the wrong product market fit combination. Hopefully that wasn't wah-wah. Now you're ready to go into growth and moat. Right. So now you're ready to go into growth, and now it's about establishing a pace, not doing a spreadsheet with a certain number of reps and hire them all next week. And the final piece I'll tell you, that's the first part of the book to outline all those milestones. And the rest of it is helping you understand a go-to-market system of who you're targeting, how they buy, how you sell to them, how you hire people to do that, how you create demand, how you run the system through coaching and commissions to spit out activities and then forecasts and revenue. That's our system. And the book helps you understand how you adapt that system as you go from product market fit to go-to-market fit to growth and moat. Because the people you need and the way you pay and the way you think about demand gen changes as you migrate through.
My understanding, at least through the very minute level of experience that I have with founders and startups, they want to skip a lot of those steps because they're ready to go to market, or they're ready to, hey, I know this works because I've got these clients and they've been with me for 40 days and it seems to be an app that seems to be working. Would you tell them to slow down? Would you tell them to be more patient? Would you tell them to stop being so eager or be more eager? What advice would you give?
I don't have enough info at that moment. I will tell you that it's often interpreted as slowing down, but it's not at all. 45% of the founders I meet are going too slow, 45% are going too fast, and 10% are going the right speed.
Okay.
So I probably need about 90 seconds to ask that person a few questions.
Got it.
And the point is just to instrument this thing. Let's take the 3 hours just to instrument it to know if we are ready and how fast. So that would be my point. This is like, let's go really fast. We'll go as fast as you want. If you want to work 996, let's do it. Let's just chase the right milestone and have the right North Star for the org.
When a company is growing fast, what is something, and I know this could be any number of things, but what are you finding oftentimes is the thing that breaks first? Is there something in there that's not working right?
Yeah.
What?
Lack of what they call ICP definition. So ICP is ideal customer profile. And so like, you just can't boil the ocean out of the gate. And this is especially true in venture-backed startups because in order to attract venture capital, you have to prove them that you have a multi-billion-dollar market opportunity. But where founders get confused is they think they have to prove it with customers out of the gate. Like very exaggerated example. You go to try to get your first 10 customers and you're looking for one in SMB, one for mid-market, one for enterprise.
Right.
One in North America, one in Europe, one in Asia. One in healthcare, one in finance, one in technology. You're done. Like you're boiling the ocean.
Right.
And that's an extreme example to illustrate the pothole here, which is like, as a VC, I just need to see the vision that you can become a multi-billion-dollar business. But when you go from 0 to a million, million to 5, 5 to 10, you need to do it within the market that has the lowest risk and the highest probability of success.
When you acquire new clients with Stage 2 Capital, when you acquire new clients, do you look for them or are they looking for you?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I would say, I'd guess we look at about 500 startups a quarter and invest in one. So it's a pretty significant ratio. We'll see 500, probably about 250 will be qualified. We'll screen those, and then probably about 50 get to a first call, and about 20 get into a deeper diligence process. I would say a third of them come from our secret sauce is we're backed by the 1,000 sales and marketing leaders in tech.
Right.
So the sales and marketing teams of Zoom and Snowflake and OpenAI and Anthropic and HubSpot and Salesforce and Workday and all that kind of stuff. So we get about a third from them. A third from our own inbound from doing things like this, and a third from our team going outbound to interesting founders and interesting ideas.
So many things that we have left to talk about, so little time we have to talk about them. What do we want to make sure that our audience gets out of this conversation? And again, if you're open to it, I'd love to have you back on again.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a part 2, Doug. Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. We can maybe folks in the comments can say what else we should have talked about, and that could be our agenda. And I would just leave you with this. Hopefully, I've enticed you a little bit to check out The Science of Scaling by Mark Roberge to help you have better success with your startup. I didn't get to say that 100% of the proceeds are donated to mental health. So if you haven't been tipped yet, hopefully that gets you over the edge to check it out. And I hope it's a guide for you to generate scale success.
This is great. I mean, this is a great conversation. Not only did we get a lot of free coaching from Mark, Nice Guy Community, especially me, because I'm able to answer the questions that are interesting to me. But those in our audience can take a moment, click on the show notes, and see where you can access the book, where you can get a little bit more information. Even if there's only a chapter in there that interests you for the few dollars that you would spend on the book, take the opportunity to get the book, read the book, especially the chapter that you're interested in, or maybe the entire book could be your thing. And then if you are a future founder, or if you're in a startup right now and you think that some of this information could be helpful, please take a moment and check out the book. Mark, thanks for sharing today. Thanks for being here, and thanks for your connection with Sandler. It's good to know there's others in the world still.
Thank you. It's been great. Thanks for being a nice guy, Doug. That was great.
Hey, Nice Guy Community, never underestimate the power of nice or the power of a good sales call. Special thanks to Mark Roberge. All of his information will be right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
Friday advice and Tuesday interviews with people far more interesting than they are. Fill up your week with the nice guys. Have fun storming the castle.